And welcome to walk this gameplay video of Echo Tokyo Intro. I'm Dystopian, we're playing Echo Tokyo again, and by the way, I'll probably make this playlist, even if it's just 2 videos. Well, it might be 3 or 4, if I actually if I actually stop at 30 minutes this time. But anyway, so, yesterday the 13th, or actually, probably the 12th of February 2016, or the 14th, or the 13th, I forget, but they came out. The developer, The Hawker Studio, came out with the update to this game, update 1.5, and in that update, they added the second story of Echo Tokyo Intro, and that is the story of Keiji Light. So let's get started, because if it's 55 minutes to get through all of it, then it's going to be 55 minutes to get through all of it. Let's slow down, or I should slow down. If it's 55 minutes to get through all of it, well, let's get started as quickly as possible. Now, we have 100%ed the other story, Shizumi Misaki. We 1%ed that, and we'll do this with Keiji more or less, because, unless of course it adds hours upon hours of content, which I think, I could be wrong, but I think it'd just be the same length as, Shizumi Misaki. So we'll do that. And hopefully we'll get first try. I mean, I kinda got first try a little bit. In case you didn't watch Shizumi Miyazaki video, the first gameplay video, I kinda one-shot at it, but I just made a decision because I thought it was the best at the time. Well, it was a small decision, it was 50-50, so, yeah. But anyway, so, yeah, I would say, oh, it's about this guy, and this guy is like this, but I don't know what I don't know what he's like, so we're going to find out, though. Alright, anything else I should say? Oh, yeah, the graphic novel's working now. If you don't know, this game had day one DLC, more or less, of a graphical novel, the original graphical novel for Shizumi Miyazaki origin story. It's pretty much the same as the normal story, except, basically, you have multiple lines going down the main story, or going down her origin story, which leads to different things, and I picked different than what she picked. I was more pacifist than in the graphic novel. However, it does have, more art regards to the end of it, as opposed to the visual novel, so it kind of is worth it for 55 or 75 cents, for 75 cents, especially if you want to see the original. But I would definitely wait for a sale on that. But anyway, so it is worth it. It is not worth it. I mean, if you really want more art, go for it. Yeah. But anyway, so let's start off with Keiji Light origin story, or Keiji Light's origin story, or something like that. Keiji Light origin story.
It's the hunger I remember most.
Oh yes, this is fully voice acted, which is the reason why it wasn't in the game to begin with the launch day, because well, they had to do all the voice acting. All this was ready. It just there was no voice acting for it, so it's better. I guess it's better than not having, it's better than having this in there and not having voice acting and charging for it later, as some visual novels do. Anyway.
It wasn't hunger in the sense of the constant hollow ache in the pit of my gut. That kept me up at night, sure. But it wasn't what stuck with me. It was just the fear. The fear that the next meal wasn't going to come, or that it would be taken from me. Have you ever seen a stray cat eat? Big ravenous gulps, devouring more than their stomachs can possibly hold. If you have, then you've seen that kind of fear. I was a kid having an existential crisis, knowing I could fade out of the world and no one would be the wiser. It's probably not how most kids remember their childhood. I hope it's not. But it's how the kids I grew up with learned to live, out there in the slums. I guess they raised me when I couldn't raise myself. I certainly didn't have any parents to do it. Not even a memory to tell me what happened to them. It used to bother me. I would sit and wonder if I had gotten lost one day, just vanished, right out of a happy home. Did my mother have a sweet smile and tuck me into a warm bed? Did somebody even look for me? I didn't have a lot of time to dwell on thoughts like that, and it was probably for the better. Having no parents meant having nothing real to miss. Now I suspect the blunt truth is colder and typical. My parents are either dead or indifferent. It's all the same, really. And I didn't go without family. In the slums, even us parentless kids had our own little gang. Our own rules we used to survive in the Sky City. The slummers gave us a bunch of names. Scavengers, rats, cloud kids. Cloud kids because we each seemed to drop out of a cloud one day. Just appearing and drifting through, never settling. Rats because people are assholes.
That would be a valid point. A valid assumption to make.
And scavengers. Because it was a more polite term for thieves. And we were just kids trying to survive.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty typical existence for a long time. Turns out, I've never had what anyone would consider a typical existence. I figured that out eventually. But at the time, I only knew a few things. I was always hungry. I was always tired. And my name was Keiji.
Oh, Keiji. I thought it was Kenji. Although, with Kenji, there would probably be an N in there somewhere, what do you think? Yeah, my bad.
Did I give myself that name, or did they? Is it the only gift I was ever given by my parents? I don't know. And on the streets, you learn to pretend not to care. It wasn't a pretty life. It wasn't easy or even enjoyable. But I had friends. Friends who I grew up with. I guess, for the sake of some neutral ground with normal childhoods, I would have called them siblings.
Yeah, apparently Keiji here is more or less total opposite of Shizumi.
They served that role among many. Mentors, playmates, rivals, all the necessary honesty and cruelty that kids are born with. We all played a part in surviving. An impossible chore for any one person out in the slums. But a group of us, well, we managed. We were the closest thing to family any of us felt we would ever get, so we made the most out of it. But nothing can make that nagging, gut-wrenching fear dissipate. On the streets or not, I was just a kid, and I wasn't ready at all for what was about to happen.
Screech! Alright, no. Screech! Alright. Say that again. Screech! Something like that.
The car skid to a stop only a few feet from us. It glistened in the light, pristine and fast. Obviously from the core city. Usually we'd be wary of anything involving the core. But excited chattering broke out among us as the doors started to open. You never saw cars like that here in the slums. Not unless they were stolen. And even then they didn't last long. That was when we noticed the uniforms and the guns.
Oh wow. Who are these guys?
A man in a long white coat gestured toward us.
These.
Suddenly wary, we hung back a bit. We knew danger when we saw it, and we were threatened often enough to avoid anything involving weapons. Adding core people into the mix was like setting off a siren warning of incoming trouble. But the soldiers approached us amicably, asking for information about a notorious weapons trader in the area. It wasn't the first time we'd been approached for information.
And look how futuristic the core people are. Well, including that car. The car is more or less hovering. Although this did make a screeching sound, so unless the hovering car has landing gear, which is possible, but you know, it looked like it was hovering, but probably wasn't. And you know, you saw me do this bounce movement. I was pointing out the fact that you saw that basically there was buildings built on top of the skyscrapers, which is very interesting. And also, what else is interesting is where do these people get their resources from? Because they're living on top of skyscrapers. Where do they get stuff to build stuff like their armor and their gun and his stuff on his head? Interesting. And a car. I mean, I know, before recording this earlier today, I was thinking, okay, the motorcycle makes sense, because you could carry motorcycles up to the building more or less, easily. So, I mean, unless they can go down the buildings or somehow, mine and scavenge, and they'll probably explain it later, but that's an interesting plot point that you may want to think about for a little bit.
It was just as valuable as the food and junk parts you pulled out of a trash bin. Sometimes more so since it didn't smell.
Hmm.
It was easy to overhear things when no one took any notice of me. One of the oldest boys and a self-proclaimed leader stepped forward to deal with him. The rest of us watching curiously. We were promised something in return for any details we could give, and the negotiations were underway. I didn't listen. The conversation may as well have taken place on another planet. No, my eyes never left the scientist in the white uniform. Something about his reflected gaze causing a chill to grip my chest.
Yeah, I got a similar feeling.
I couldn't see his eyes, but something told me they were looking straight at me. And that was when the gunshots ran out. Without our notice, the soldiers had slowly surrounded us on each side and penned us in. The screams seemed even louder than the gunfire, the terror rooting me to the spot. I remember the disbelief, the astounded impossibility of what was happening weighing down on me.
Yeah, they're just kids.
They were my friends, my family.
Yeah.
Some were shot on sight, as if on the soldiers' sudden whims. I watched them fall, gunned down one by one in the street without rhyme or reason. Others were assaulted, beaten down into bruised heaps of submission. It flickers in front of my eyes still, the sight of limp bodies with slow sanguine blood pooling at their sides. My instincts pulled at my heavy and unresponsive limbs until I finally managed to turn to actually move. But the cold barrel of a gun pressed against the back of my neck, the hair bristling in response.
Uh-oh.
Rendered entirely still, I stared forward, straight at the man in the white uniform.
Could be after you.
All the blood and all the chaos. But he still looked back at me.
Yeah, the action wheels.
Even there, with a gun pressed to my neck, and the sounds of my friends dying in agony, he seemed like the biggest threat.
Probably he was one of the ordered the killing.
And then he walked toward me. His stride took him around me, and out of my line of sight for a moment. That was maddening, the not knowing. Even the feeling of the metal left my skin, the gun barrel seeming to rethink its judgment and release me. My knees trembling like jelly, I started to slowly look over my shoulder.
This one.
Towering above me, the scientist grabbed me roughly, a hand clamping over my head. I turned my head to glare up at the man, who seemed impossibly tall and sinister.
Yeah.
I surprised myself then, when all my fear evaporated. It turned to rage. In the most powerful motion a scrawny, underfed boy could muster, I slammed my fist squarely into his chest. I was repaid in kind when the stiff toe of a boot connected under my ribcage. Too thin to have much weight to me, the kick was enough to send me twisting into the air briefly. The shadow of a gun passed over me, where I knelt on the ground and gasped for every breath that wouldn't come.
No.
A high, insidious voice interrupted. The man in white pushed his guard dog back.
This is one we're taking.
Yeah.
Fault the boy for being spirited.
I didn't know what that meant then. What did they want with us? What did anyone want with us? With kids? Still reeling from the attack, I couldn't fight back when the strong arm grabbed me around the waist.
Probably for experiments, judging by the fact that, well, he's in that coat and that stuff on his head.
I only really acknowledged what was happening when I felt the needle slide into my skin. I didn't know what it was I had been injected with. But it did its job fast, I'm guessing, since that was the last memory I have of the massacre.
Yeah, possibly sedative.
There wasn't anything I could have done then, and for a long time, I didn't even feel bad about what happened. I didn't have the luxury. I woke up to pain. Not once mine. Every time I woke up, it was because of pain. I didn't know where I was or what was happening. The sting of the whip biting into and removing flesh made it impossible to think. Every few minutes it would happen, the seemingly random lash that would carve out a new scar. The pain was unbearable. A splitting agony that felt like fire, before it subsided into a dull throb. My whole body became a raw nerve. Arms, back, torso, legs. They spared no part of me from the senseless whippings. I wasn't alone. Aside from my attacker, there were the others they had taken too. It would have been a relief knowing I wasn't the sole survivor. If this wasn't the hell we had woken up in. I heard their screams. Once I was aware enough to realize they weren't just phantom echoes of my own. When I mustered enough strength to raise my head, I saw another boy restrained close to where I was. When I tried to call out to him, though, it resulted in a lashing so severe I either passed out or don't remember it. I just remember waking up from it, immobile, and wondering, half hoping, how much blood it took to bleed to death. Too much. I don't know how long it lasted. There never seemed to be any reason to it, no method. Once the pain had broken you, that became the maddening part. The why. Occasionally I would see the scientists gazing at us from behind glass. It was like they feared approaching us might get blood on their pristine white coats.
Pristine, eh? I say pristine. But yeah. Madness.
I didn't know what they wanted, and it was a folly to ask. I just knew I envied my friends, the ones who had been left dying in the street, and the thought of feeling horrified about what had happened to them. In that moment, it would have made me laugh. Then one day, the routine stopped. It was almost as distressing as when it had started. To suddenly lose the pain. All the sensation that had been familiar. All the ways I had learned to quantify time in this windowless place. It was gone. And somehow that was terrifying. Even my wounds were healed without explanation. Hideous marks were left behind. Deep grooves of skin forming little ridges and valleys of hard scar tissue. But the worst of the pain had gone. More had changed than just my beaten body, as I was taken to a wide-open room I had never seen. I drank in every sight, pleased to see anything I didn't recognize. I wasn't foolish enough to be excited, though. I doubt I would have even been capable of such a thing. A man approached me, wielding a weapon in each large fist. I learned better than to speak without first being questioned, and despite the obvious threat, I regarded him in silence.
Apparently they put him in this room and hoping he will fight this guy and probably win. Because that stuff that they injected to the back of his neck was some sort of augmentation something. They made him augment and they were just testing with the whippings. Unfortunate.
Without even being aware of it, I waited for instruction, harboring the anxiety of failure, of more torture. In many ways, I had been stripped down into some creature I didn't recognize. Something basic and primal composed my nature now. Suddenly, an intercom squealed to life with breathy static and a squealing hum. A voice that sent a shiver up my spine filled the room. That same high tone that had been permanently etched into my mind.
You have one very simple mission. Survive. Good luck.
That was it.
Oh wow, Archer.
There were no more instructions. No more explanation. I didn't ask for one. My gaze leveling on the man.
Remember, might have some elemental parts just like Shishimi got at the end of her origin story.
Predictably, he charged at me, a blade clutched in each hand.
Oh.
I don't remember deciding to fight, even if letting this man cut me down where I stood would have probably been the smart thing to do. The only way out. I didn't do it. Instead, I moved faster than he could have dreamed, and swung my fist right into his gut.
Nice.
I didn't fight with any grace or technique. I fought the only way I learned to fight. To punch the hardest, and feel the least. It may have been clumsy and desperate, but it wasn't ineffective. The overcompensating dual wielding didn't save him. A second blow, this time a sturdy strike to the neck, and the man's head snapped back. He didn't offer to get back up. Knocked out cold.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Take them out with 2 blows.
Maybe even I underestimated your potential.
I didn't know what was coming next, or what this madman was talking about. I ignored the phantom praise he offered up over the intercom. Abruptly, the door slammed open, and guards flooded the room, guns held in their hands as if I was some threat to them. They surrounded me on every side, crowding me back, entire body stiff. I eyed them warily, like a trapped animal ready to fight. But they said nothing. It was the damnable voice over the intercom that took charge.
Of course he did.
You've won the fight, but you haven't passed the test. It's time to finish the job. Do it.
The job? I glanced back briefly to the prone body that lay still and unthreateningly on the floor.
Uh-oh.
The phantom image of my slain friend seemed to stutter across my vision. That felt like another lifetime ago, but it was still there. That long-held memory. And with more resolve than I knew I had left in me, I planted my feet firmly and said nothing.
I said finish the job.
He says, no, you will not kill another man.
Or you'll wish you hadn't succeeded at all.
Maybe I'd forgotten how to be afraid too. Or maybe I was just bullheaded beyond all reason, and they still hadn't knocked it out of me yet. But surrounded by these murderers, I knew there was one thing separating me from them.
Yep.
It wasn't the scars or the captivity.
It's morality.
It was that I had never killed anyone. I shook my head stubbornly, denying the order and focusing my full intention, that memory. That strong, horrific memory. If that was what it took to keep me a little human, I'd cling to it no matter how much it hurt to hold. And in silence, I waited for my punishment. I was kept waiting long anyway. The butt of the gun collided with the back of my head in a solid strike. I was out before I hit the floor.
What are they doing to his spine?
That was how I woke up. Nothing they had done to me before this point could have prepared me for that kind of pain.
Yeah.
Ripped open and alive when I shouldn't have been. Immobilized but feeling. I thought, at first, I was being killed off for disobedience.
No, you're an experiment.
That was a little too optimistic, I guess.
Yeah.
Initially, I had felt everything. The edge of a sharp scalpel. The grinding of bone. The air even smelled like blood as I gasped for it. But then, after grueling minutes, I thought I wouldn't survive. The pain was gone, and I felt nothing at all. My body itself felt unbound. My skin and the air around it no different. And that was the best I had felt in a very long time. And then I saw what they were doing. The ominous metal spinal column was lowered down carefully. Then it passed out of my sight again. I was trapped in this strange, unending nightmare that I couldn't comprehend. And much like a dream, things simply happened to me. Nonsensical. Random. Impossible. None of that mattered here. A bit of preliminary feeling flooded my veins. Less pain this time. And the strange bulky sensation of something moving in my bed.
I mean, without your spine, you probably couldn't feel anything. It was, well, no, something that wasn't hopping outside of your head.
The sensation of tugging and stretching. The vibration of something sliding into place. I tested my movement again, which had returned to me a little. It took monumental effort just to raise my hand the little bit I could. I hadn't felt the restraints earlier, but they were there, clamped around my wrists and ankles. I couldn't go anywhere even if I wanted to.
His body seems to be responding well.
I couldn't make sense of the readings the doctor was looking at. My vision too blurry and mind too numb. But I guess I didn't disappoint.
Close him up.
My memory fades out here, leaving nothing but odd sensations and mismatched pieces of dialogue. Everything starts to get hazy. I just remember one phrase for certain.
The surgery was a success.
And then there I was, might have meant something, if I knew where there was at the time. I was woozy on my feet, the forceful grip that had guided me there suddenly leaving me as I glared against the bright lights. Disoriented and still sluggish from what felt like an eternity of sleep, I came to slowly.
And his face is all scarred as well.
My back felt stiff, the skin pulling and hard to move, but at least it didn't hurt. I heard the intercom turn on, and suddenly I knew. That same voice, even the same words. I was awake in a split second, as if someone had run a current of electricity through my veins.
You have one very simple mission. Survive.
Survive.
Oh, that guy says it, the what they call the thug. How he says it's messed up. Like all the stuff he ever does.
As if I'd been doing anything else. The horror of the surgery had finally crept back into my mind, but I couldn't focus on the now. It was another arena, not unlike the first. Only this time, it wasn't exactly dressed the part.
Yeah.
Great.
I think you'll find this a rather interesting challenge.
The voice wasn't wrong, and it had nothing to do with the fact that I was pitifully outnumbered. I recognized some of those faces, much as they had changed, even with sunken eyes, wild eyes, and muscled, scarred bodies.
Oh.
They were some of the boys I grew up with. It stirred something in me, a piece of myself that I'd been dwelling over during all that time in recovery, suspended somewhere between death and sleep, with nothing but the past to escape into. Did the scientist really think that I'd change my stance on killing? That I'd bow to his whim?
Maybe.
Attack!
In one savage motion, the group lunged toward me like animals on the hunt. There was nothing left of their old selves, not a hint of empathy or recognition for me. They followed the order, the way I was expected to follow the order. And even if I wouldn't play the part of a willing puppet, I was not going to stand around and get myself slaughtered. I was too wary of pain to let that happen. So when a man twice my size rushed in first, I slammed my fist forward. The bone broke against my knuckles like glass, my fist meeting something mushy and fleshy within. Everything simply caved beneath my hand.
Yeah.
I can still feel it. The phantom sensation of passing my hand through bone and muscle and teeth. I didn't mean to do it.
Wow.
I didn't even know how I did. The assailant slumped backwards, his face so broken it was unidentifiable, and pieces of his brain were flecked across the floor. But the others didn't stop charging, not even registering the death. They were a single-minded swarm. And no matter how hard I tried, so was I. I couldn't stop fighting them. My body just reacted. Every punch catastrophic, every kick enough to shatter bone. Whatever they did to me in that surgery, I couldn't control it. I couldn't stop it. As if every part of my body was enhanced. But maybe that's not the worst of it. The worst of it was that I couldn't feel bad about it. I couldn't feel much of anything anymore. Even when I stared at the bodies prone on the floor. I didn't want to kill them. I knew it was wrong.
Yep.
Now I was a murderer. I had taken life, and I could never undo it. Never unbecome it. But I searched for the guilt, the dread, and the fear. I knew what I should be feeling, but it simply wasn't there. Was that what it meant to be broken?
Yep.
Did they finally succeed, I wondered?
Actually, they probably didn't. Just how he was enhanced.
Behind me, a door opened.
Hey, how he was augmented.
I recognized the surgeon, now dressed again in the standard science uniform used at the facility.
Come on, Keiji.
His hand rested on my shoulder, as if we were not standing among the bodies of people I had slaughtered.
My heart.
Let's go back to the cells.
And I followed him. I could have fought back. I could have killed the scientist without even trying. So why the hell didn't I? These were the thoughts that plagued my mind when I was returned to my plain functional cell.
Either that you couldn't, or you still have mortality.
The scenes played over and over again in my head. The sound of bones crunching so distinct. I should have been repulsed. But wasn't. I'm still not. I didn't understand it. But it made me feel physically sick to even think about attacking the scientist. My fingers twitched at my side. Blood still visible under my nails. Eventually, though, I started to piece it together as I sat there. When the scientist put his hand on my shoulder, he thought I was complicit. He thought I was trying to kill them. They didn't realize. Whatever they tried to do to me, it only half succeeded. I wasn't powerless anymore, and wasn't sticking around to see what happened when they figured out the truth. I just needed a plan. Preferably even a plan that didn't involve killing.
Yep.
It just involved a little destruction. The blood streamed out of my knuckles, but the punch left a sizable dent. I didn't feel much pain. I haven't felt the same since the surgery. As if my tolerance for everything was unusually high. Like a blanket of snow was cast over my ability to feel. Maybe that would come in handy.
Yeah, muting everything, by the way.
Punch after punch dented the metal further, until there was a rending of metal. I'd been in that cell long enough to puzzle out how it worked. Even though I'd never seen the technology, I'd heard the currents that run through the walls when the door opens. To say that I didn't know exactly what I was doing was an understatement. But I'd gathered up enough scrap metal as a kid to know the basics of how things worked, and how to get them working again. So maybe, I thought, with more luck than skill, I could get the door open. I ripped through wires as I found them, indiscriminate and savage. I was waiting, hoping that one of them would short-circuit the door and trigger it open.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly messed up something. A low electrical pitch slowly growing louder and louder. I should have taken that as a sign. The explosion took me by surprise. Metal shrapnel went flying, cutting into my skin and hands. And the sheer force of it knocked me back several feet.
Well.
I shouldn't have come out of it unscathed. But my clothes were more wounded than me. But when I saw exactly what had happened, well, I didn't need to get the door open after all. Smoke filled the corridor as I stepped out into it, sirens wailing loudly through the facility. I blinked at my freedom for a few moments, trying to come to terms with it. It had been a long time since I had known what it was like to make my own choices, but I lingered too long, and turned toward the abrupt sound of footsteps. One of the scientists. Like a coward, he turned to flee, no doubt to summon help and reinforcements. Moving on instinct, I charged after him. I couldn't let him get away, and I didn't want to kill him, not after what had already happened.
Yep.
But he would tell others if I let him go.
Don't fall in the trap.
I slammed my foot into the back of his leg, feeling the bone break against the strike. But with impressive control, or maybe shock, he turned as he fell. The volts of the stun device jarred through my body, tensing every muscle, and making it rigid beyond moving. The metal in my spine rendered me almost immobile. But I pushed through it, fighting against the tension in my own muscles, and with one huge effort, broke free. I lunged for the scientist without reservation, fury flowing through my veins with the white-hot electricity. And with a motion of sheer desperation and rage, my hands twisted his neck sharply. Unlike the others, it didn't come without resistance, requiring a true effort to twist the skull out of place. And then I realized why. Smoke and sparks erupted from his neck, as the technology in him shorted out. Similar technology to what was in me, I guess. Were they all like that? Were any of them as dangerous, as powerful as I was? A commotion attracted my attention, a stream of men suddenly manifesting through an open door. They tried to corner me, and all I could see when I looked at them were casualties. More and more casualties. A pile of bodies steadily growing and adding weight to my shoulders. I had to get out of there. So I ran. I ran until I hit something I had long since forgotten about. Sunlight. It filled up my vision, glinting off the edge of every building and gleaming in the reflective windows. There were colors and hues I had forgotten about. The chaos and bloodshed behind me was forgotten. As I took a deep breath of clean, fresh air, I could have collapsed then and there, in the overwhelming relief and phased confusion that befell me. Who was I now? What was I? I didn't know, but I was free. The facility at my back loomed over me, but I ran. Ran until I was out of its shadow entirely. I didn't know where I was going, or who I was now. It took a long time, building up a new life for myself when I had never even had one in the first place. And in some ways, I still don't know anything about who I am, or what I feel. But I'm figuring it out. The more I think back on that place, and the things I did while I was there, the more it unsettles me. I left it standing. Sometimes when I'm out, I see a band of boys sitting idly around the streets, hungry and weary and rough. That had been me once. Would a car pull up to them one day, and armed soldiers round them all up? Would they slaughter or experiment on them? When I was there, all I wanted was to be anywhere else. And now that I'm out, well, I'm working on that.
Go Tokyo, thank you for playing. And that will be, no, not Kenji, Keiji. There's the one that, it's doing his name, Keiji. Kenji's story, or Kenji Light's story. And that was kind of messed up. You know, to put it lightly. If I in the ways that I can actually phrase. Because if you don't know, I don't express sadness all that well. I mean, when I think about it, I can do it, I can express sadness, but I just can't do it that well, and that was extremely sad. When they updated on Steam, they said it was a dark story. They weren't kidding. So yeah, it's messed up, and it's interesting if you think about it this way. It's messed up in a different way. Yeah, did you notice this actually got quiet after, after he started, at the end of the, and then stuff, Shizumi's story. It's different, Shizumi's story had, I'm trying to think about it. Light was a man, or Kenji was a man, Shizumi was a woman, and they, Kenji has a lot of gore and blood in it. And, Shizumi has more, sexual stuff in it. And that's interesting, isn't it? I think we messed up. But, anyway. So, yeah, and actually, I believe that's what they call a Connect novel, because they also said it was a full Connect novel. A visual novel. Which I believe that means it's a visual novel without the choices, because as you saw, there were no choices in that at all. And let's look at our database real quick. Has it changed? Yes. And see, we got everything. So yeah, that's interesting. So we do this real quick. And look at the city. As you can see, that no skyscrapers start right there, and then the buildings that play on the top go up there. So that's interesting. The story is really interesting. Return. No.
It's the hunger I remember.
Don't exit the game. Yes. There we go. I won't look at this screen because this screen's better. So yeah, it's very messed up. So it's just, I'm really enjoying Echo Tokyo's story so far, and I can't wait till the game that this game is, prequeling. This game's getting ready for, because Echo Tokyo, the real one, will basically be an open world. It'll be basically an open world visual novel, which I can't really tell you if I actually heard of one before, seen one before. I basically be walking around as Keiji and Shizumi and just walking around Echo Tokyo, doing stuff. And these are their origin stories. Um, so that's really interesting. And also, what's really interesting, what got me to play Echo Tokyo Intro is the fact that the story interests me. Because having a city built on skyscrapers is pretty interesting. Um, so yeah, and it didn't disappoint at all. Um, Other than the fact that it's really short, but again, it was only what 275. 275. Actually, let me look up exactly how much it is. And you can always get it on sale. Unless of course you think this video is good enough, which I won't blame you if you don't. Um, so yeah, but I can definitely see where it's going, and if this, what I wish it would do is, actually have it so people that bought this get a discount on the, get a discount on the main game, and people that didn't buy this get this for free with the main game, or at least have this discounted for the main game, if you get the main game, or get a package with the main game. Um, that would work really well. I mean, it definitely make it more worth getting than it is now, because right now, it's worth getting, yes, if you really like visual novels. Especially now, I mean, it's what, 2 hours of content, more or less. Which is not good, but it's not totally bad for $2 because it's $1 an hour now. You can always go back and replay, like a movie or like a book. So yeah, and visual novels don't typically aren't very long either. I mean, there are some ridiculously long visual novels that are just visual novels. Mo of Love is a good example. And there's a couple others as well. I won't say Ace Academy, but I haven't really. No, Ace Academy only has 2 episodes out right now, and I don't know how long those are, but they're decently long. Although it's more of an expensive visual novel at $24, so yeah. But for a visual novel, it's not that bad. It's a really good visual novel. Because that's something that most visual novels don't have, and that is voice acting. So yeah. Wait a second. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the price right now on the Wii U. $2.99. And it was on sale for what, $1.45 when I got it. So just under $3 for 2 hours of content. That's up to you if it's worth it or not to you. I mean, you can have the standard Steam argument of the fact that, oh, I can get a AAA release that ranges from like 15 to 20 hours for like $4. You're not wrong if that excuse is not wrong in any way. It's just at Steam, and visual novels tend to be more expensive sometimes. But most visual novels are, I believe, I am just completely guessing, range like from 8 hours to more. If they are just visual novels, if not, then they are well, except Love, because I've been playing the original Love for I don't even know how long, more than 15 hours, and it's still not over yet. But that seems to be a rare example. And then East Academy, which I still want to do. I just haven't had time to do it. I mean, again, it could be that long for 2 episodes, and I can always. I mean, one thing about doing is waiting for the 3rd episode to release and do the first 2. We'll see. The Echo Tokyo. I guess what I would say is wait for the full release. And then see what happens with this. Unless, of course, you really like what you see and you want to have it, then go for it. It's worth it for a visual novel player. It's not really worth it if you just want a story. Would it be worth it if it was all cutscenes? And very little gameplay. It depends, because there's another game out there, I can't look it up, there's another game out there that has, 30 minutes of gameplay for, $3-4. And it's strictly gameplay. And that's not worth it to me, but this was. Mainly because this tells a story which is not told often. And it's not exactly the thing to look up on YouTube. Well, at least on day one it wasn't. I'm not quite sure if it is now. Well, I have my video up. I have my video up, so yeah. But yeah, it definitely shows what it can do. There's also another example of the $15 Metal Gear Solid 5. You know the game, the prologue to it. What was it called? No, not Phantom Pain. That's the full release. Or that's the main game. I forgot. It's on the tip of my tongue. Give me a second. I don't know what it was ago, but I guess you know it. You can look at Phantom Pain and then you can find it easily from there. That had like an hour of gameplay if you just did the main mission, or if you just did, the story mission. Of course, I had like 4 or 5 hours of gameplay after that, and people were disappointed at that. And then you got Timefall, which was a full release with like 15 hours of gameplay. If you strictly go and unlock everything and don't play it for fun afterwards. So again, it's up to you whether or not this is worth it. It is a very good visual novel. So yeah, but we'll see. And the full game will not be like Keiji story. Keiji story is just a thing that they added. The full game will have choices, and actually they will have open world, which I'm not quite sure what they're going for. I'm not quite sure how they're going to do the open world, but it should be interesting nevertheless. Alright, but anyway, so that'll be it for this video, and I guess thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. It was up to me. Also, up to me to leave a comment. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you liked. Have any suggestions for this? Well, tell me if you have any suggestions. Because this is the last video in the series, more or less, for intro. I guess if you have any suggestions for the main game, which is coming out, I don't know when. I'm not quite sure if they said when the main game's coming out. Actually, let me look it up right here. And the 1.5 release. It could say there. It doesn't say it when the full game's releasing, actually I keep saying full game. No, this is a full game, the main game. So yeah, I'm not quite sure when that's releasing, but I'll definitely do it when that releases. And you can give me suggestions for. I'm not quite sure what you can give me suggestions for. That's just my standard outro thing I say. So we'll see. But anyway, also. They don't make a lot of sense with this either, do they? Anyway, so I'll definitely be doing the main game when it releases. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'll definitely do the main game when it releases. And, yeah, so... this is definitely one of the better visual novels out there. But is it worth $2.99 to you? You have to ask yourself that question, because... how the art is, how the voice acting is, how the music is, it is worth it. But how much content there is, it's not worth it to me. Guys, for this amount of content, it'd be preferable if it was free. But if it's not going to be free, I would pay, $1 for it, maybe. Because I did pay almost $1 for it, so, yeah. Or less. 99 cents or less actually, more like 75 cents or less. But, it is worth it if you like this type of thing. Anyway, because there's nothing to do this in these videos, unfortunately, so, yeah. But so I guess it is worth it to people that like visual novels and want to have this in their collection. How about that? Alright, but anyway, for this video, I really appreciate you guys watching. Well, I said that already. That'll be it for this video, and I guess Oh, by the way, I did start Sunrider series, and well, this is kind of in the series, isn't it? I did start Sunrider series. I also started, this, actually. So, yeah. I'm also thinking about doing the next world, which is coming out sometime recently, or sometime soon, so I'll be definitely doing that. That is a colony management visual novel, which is interesting. I like playing visual novels that have some sort of gameplay element to it. Like this, like the main game of this will have open world. You got Sunrider, which is turn-based ship combat, spaceship combat, and you got Syrups, which I will be doing Syrups in March, and I got a plan to do something before March. Syrups demo in March, and I'll also do it before release in September. But you got Syrups, which is a real-time strategy game. Then you got next world, which is, or then you got Seven Spears something, which is a sci-fi air combat game. So yeah, I just like playing games like this. I'm getting the visual novels that are more, visual novelty, as opposed to being a game with a visual novel, with a story told in a visual novel way. Alright, anyway, so yeah, that'd be it for this video, and I guess, see you in a second.